Today I'm going to share my present perspective on prayer. Earlier this week, a friend who I participate in a Course in Miracles study group shared some questions with me that she is currently navigating around prayer. And first of all, I am so grateful for this type of friendship and spiritual community. It's something that I had been seeking for a long time. And so to feel this type of companionship on a path of better understanding myself and my spiritual nature means a lot to me. So thank you. But to answer the questions, I'll start with a little bit of background on my relationship to prayer. So I've actively been practicing prayer for about 11 months now. How this started was in a spiritual retreat last summer. A friend was leading us in prayer through the ceremony, and in the space of that, I started to feel both this individual connection as well as this collective energy. And as I started to relax into it and to try it on, I felt this inner guidance starting to bubble up in me that's started to give me this insight that now is a time for me to start embracing prayer as an access point to divine connection. So to take it a step back from that, about 5 years previously, when I gave up alcohol, one of the signature experiences I would have each morning is this feeling and awareness of energy through my body that I've come to now relate to as my connection to God, or that communion with God, where I just feel that presence of a much higher frequency or vibration than I can possibly understand. One that, guides me as, I ask it questions. It responds with a sense of peace when it's affirming to me that that's the path that I'm meant to go down. And my relationship prior to that with prayer was, growing up as a kid, prayer felt forced and inauthentic, and that had me push away from it for about 35 years. So this is a very recent season that I've stepped into, and I think that's helpful in terms of prefacing these questions. So the first question is, how can we truly let go with prayer? So there's this idea or principle of surrender that, if we surrender, our will to God's, that it will help us through, any circumstance that we find ourselves in. And my experience with that and the practice that I've been using over the course of the past 6 months in particular, as I've been doing daily study of A Course in Miracles, is that, as I relax into prayer, it is truly handing over whatever may be, kind of creating a field of stress for me, and offering up to God that the phrase that comes through me from a 12-step program I participated in years ago was, "Thy will, not mine, be done. Thy will, not mine, be done." And so I'll commonly find myself using that as a gateway to surrender, handing over, and when it's conflict with or an unresolved wound with somebody who I care about, it is, as Marianne Williamson talks about often, praying for their happiness. And there are people in my life who I've been consistently praying for their happiness every day for the past 2-ish months, and I just feel so much more peace inside around those connections and relationships, even if we haven't spoken in quite a while. And that's what enables me to, release that person or situation with love. That, if God is willing our paths back together, then I trust that it will happen. And if our connection here in this lifetime is complete, then, I'm stepping into that possibility as well. But it's really accepting that, it's God's plan and not mine, that is going to be the peaceful path here. Does it have to feel authentic, or can it be just words? My experience with this, and this could be my bias, that I felt, prayer was inauthentic in my childhood. And as I've come back to it, my standard has been to do it with a level of authenticity and commitment that, I'm each time, I read a passage in A Course in Miracles, or I'm lying in Shavasana, expressing a prayer of gratitude in advance of a yoga class, or I'm surrendering a situation to God that I feel is just so far beyond what I can humanly manage, that it's done with a level of authenticity that, I personally believe that, it is that authenticity, that, kind of truth in my spirit, that, I'm blessing them, I'm extending them love, I'm extending them forgiveness, I'm releasing my human control over the situation. I'm trusting God to guide me along this path. And that's my experience of authenticity in this. And how I know that it's being released with authenticity comes back to that experience of that awareness of divine energy. When I have that feeling of inner peace, that's when I believe I'm in communion and in prayer with God. And yeah, that is my present perspective on prayer.